Hello, farmers, and welcome to another episode of the harvest season. My name is Al,
And my name is Bev.
and we're here today to talk about farming games. Woo!
Woo!
Bev, it has been so long. I haven't recorded
I
an
know.
episode of this podcast in, I'm not kidding, 2 months. Over 2 months.
Oh my goodness. Has it been like a nice little holiday for you then?
I mean, I wasn't planning for it to be this long.
Uh-huh.
I was planning to be on the last episode, but it's kind of hard to do
Yes.
in certain circumstances. So didn't manage to do that.
Understandable.
But it was certainly nice to not. I mean, I should know. I edited both of the last 2 episodes. But yeah, the last one I was ill for, and then the one before that I was in London for Pokemon Worlds, which was good fun. So I just wasn't on that episode because I didn't want to have to think about recording.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I was able
valid.
to edit after I got back. That was pretty easy.
So even though you haven't been on the podcast, you haven't quite had a holiday away from it because you've still done all the editing.
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, I had almost a month where I wasn't doing basically anything. And it was
Okay.
certainly, I mean, the thing about editing is much easier for me than recording because recording has to happen at a specific time and has to
Sure.
happen generally with an American. And so therefore mostly has to happen at the weekend because the time that I can do it is the time when Americans are working. So it basically has to happen on a Saturday or a Sunday. And because I have kids, I don't want to be up too late. So it kind of basically has to happen about 7 p.m. on a weekend. But you know this because that's what we're doing right now.
Indeed.
So whereas editing a podcast, I can do it at any point, like you can do it in small sections and, there's lots of kind of more flexibility around that. So,
Very true.
yeah. So I'm back. Yay.
Yay.
We have a lot to talk about. There's quite a bit of news because
Yes.
there was a Nintendo Direct this week with apparently half of the games were farming games. Bev, it's a big time for farming games, and apparently people seem to be confused about this.
Yes, I don't know how many times I saw questions about there's maybe not question but comments like there's another farming game. Why are there so many farming games? And it's like
have they not been
people
paying
love
attention?
farming games. No.
Like, I don't. I mean, it's no coincidence that we started a farming game podcast nearly 4 years ago, right? Like,
Yep.
it's been a big thing for a while now. It's not new. You've just
Yep.
only started noticing it.
Yes.
And
I feel like Stardew Valley was like maybe the huge like influx of indie games coming out, but I could be wrong.
it definitely
don't-
was.
Okay.
It definitely was. I think the success of Stardew has led to this. Like,
Yes.
I think especially Stardew on the Switch. I think that was the
Yes.
point where everybody started making farming games because if you look at, it's 5 years since Stardew came out on the Switch. And we're now at the point where there are hundreds of them, That's about a good time to make an indie farming game. Funnily, I
does,
think
yeah.
that's about the time that it took to make Stardew, about 5 years.
Concerned Ape, yeah, I think it was 4 years, but yeah, that definitely sounds about right. Like people are like coming off of that high, and we're like, this seems to work. Let's build our own farming game so we can make money like Stardew. I guess.
Yeah, and I don't know why people are surprised because it's like, the whole point of games is escapism, right? We don't like there may be other benefits like, there are obviously benefits to like mobility and thinking, critical thinking and reactions and blah, blah, blah. Studies have shown this, but we don't play games for that. Those are just good excuses when people complain about us playing games.
Yep.
We play games for escapism. If you, listener, play games for a different reason, please let me know because I think it all boils down to escapism. And
In one way or another.
And farming games are like at a particular kind of escapism, which, kind of are about escape from capitalism, even though they're all still capitalist. I should note every single farming game you've played is a capitalist farming game. I'm still looking for my non-capitalist farming game. Please and thank you, game developers. But it's almost an escape from capitalism because you're not a slave to someone else. You are you're doing slaves, probably bad wording for that, but you know what I mean. Like you're not, just a worker for someone else. Like literally, they all start off with escaping to the countryside, and although you're still
Yep.
living within a capitalist system and you're still making things to sell them to make money to buy other things, it's a different kind of capitalism. It's almost a kinder capitalism that one could argue doesn't exist in real life. That's absolutely true. Like the way it works in games doesn't exist, but that's the
Yeah.
point. It's escapism. And I saw an interesting Penny Arcade cartoon. I will add that in the show notes. But it was like questioning, why there's loads of farming games. And one of them says, we've always been escaping into these things, right? Our fantasies used to be about having adventures in unlikely places. Now we're driven to ecstasy by the idea of a clean place to live surrounded by healthy plants.
Yep. Yes. And
So-
living off the farm and having
Yeah.
a lot more agency, I guess, over your life than we currently do now.
So yeah, I'm fascinated when people are confused by it. I get why people might be annoyed about it because they're like, I don't like these. Why are there so many of them? But there are always games you don't like. And actually, if you look at the number of games that there were in it, there were only like 6 farming games in the Direct. And we went through a list of games from the Direct, and it was a good, 20 games long? It's like, that's about a quarter of them are farming games.
Yeah.
And
So
and
they're
one
not
of
taking
those
over.
and one of those wasn't even in the Western Directs. That was only in the Japanese one. We'll get to that later. Like it's not really that, like they're not really everywhere. There's just a lot of them because, funnily enough, people are buying them.
Yep. People like them. We have a podcast about it because people like them.
I was not expecting to rant about that, but there we go. Apparently that's the thing that happened. This episode we're going to talk about Ooblets.
Yay.
Again.
I love it. Yes.
Whoa, spoilers.
What? Oh, sorry. I know. I'm just so excited, listeners.
So we're going to talk about Ooblets. Before that, we're going to talk through all the news. It's mostly Direct news, but there's a couple of other things as well. However, first of all, Bev, what have you been playing?
I have been on a Pokemon kick recently. So I'm delving back into like Pokemon Let's Go and Ultra Moon, doing a Nuzlocke in Ultra Moon, and doing a Soul Lock in Let's Go. And I also picked up a Bed and Breakfast because I was itching to play
Bear and
something
Breakfast?
new. Sorry, yes, Bear and Breakfast.
I was like, is this a game I don't know about, or
It's a bed and breakfast. It's essentially a bed and breakfast, but it's a bear. You're a bear. Go listen to that episode. It's great. So yeah, I did not expect to be excited about it. But then I saw everyone else's excitement and experienced FOMO. And so I got it and can see why all the the hype is warranted.
yeah. It's definitely on my list of things to play at some point, but probably not this year. There are too many games coming out this year.
Indeed.
Cool.
All right. How about you?
Well, I've been playing Ooblets, a lot of Ooblets. Like, I got so into this. I can't tell you how many hours, because apparently the Steam Deck doesn't tell you hours for non-Steam games, which is a bit annoying, but
Awful.
whatever. I've been, as I said, I've been playing that on my Steam Deck, so I've been playing a lot of my Steam Deck, which we will talk about later in the episode, but it's been interesting to do that. I also started playing Nexomon, which is kind of one of these like creature capture Pokemon clone type things. I didn't get really far, but like I'm just, I don't know. Maybe I won't play much of it before Pokemon comes out because there's only so much of certain games you can play, he says, doing a farming game podcast. And I've kind of vaguely started playing Disney Dreamlight Valley and Ancora Lost Days, but not very much. I also started the Harvestella demo, but again, not very much. Like, I'm not. It's basically been Ooblets with a little bit of other things, not really kind of getting into any of the other ones yet. Because I was like, I must get this finished. I need to get this finished for the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I am definitely interested in Dreamlight Valley and Ancora, but I will be playing Ancora as soon as I get my digital key.
Yeah, Dreamlight Valley, it seems to be getting some really good reviews from some people, which is very interesting. So it's on my list. I've got it on Game Pass. So I just need to actually start playing that and see how it goes.
Yeah, I might wait for it to fully come out because I don't think I want to pay for it right now just because there's so many other games. And I have also downloaded the Harvestella demo, but haven't touched it yet. But I will probably get around to doing that at some point.
Yeah, it's. I think probably for most people, it's best to wait for the full release of Dreamlight Valley. But obviously, I have a compulsion to cover these things on the podcast. So,
indeed.
Although the really annoying thing, Bev, is there are more games coming out this year than I have episodes left.
Oh no!
So I don't know what to do. Because we've got, obviously, we're covering Ooblets. We've got Ancora Lost Days. We've got Coral Island. We've got Doraemon Story of Seasons, Friends of the Great Kingdom. We've got Harvestella. We've probably got Mineko's Night Market, although we don't have a date for that, but I am convinced that's coming out this year still. That's 5. I'm sure there are more. I'm looking at my list. There's a bunch that still say 2022, but we don't have dates for. Oh yeah, Wild Flowers. That's another one. And then obviously we have to do our usual end of year episode. That's all the episodes left. Like there are no more. I'm not saying I'm covering all those games, by the way, listeners. Like it is a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do an in-depth review in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So I'm not promising any of those games. But they're and then obviously Disney Dreamlight Valley as well. That's like 7 games coming out this year, assuming that all the other ones that have said 2022 don't come out this year. Because that's Snacko and Wonderlost and Ever After Falls and Sunhaven and Lonesome Village and Petadachi. That's another 6 games that could theoretically come out this year. Although I will predict just now that none of them will come out this year. That's my prediction.
Well, we have, I guess you have next year, a couple next year ones planned then.
Oh my word. Let me tell you, I currently have on this spreadsheet 25 games currently scheduled to come out next year.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
now,
goodness.
obviously, they won't all come out.
26 bi-weeklies in a year.
Yeah. So, and that assumes that none of the ones from 2022 that don't get delayed. So then if you add on another 6, that's 32. 32 games. Now, obviously, some of them will get delayed to 2024. It's almost a guarantee. I'm not going to predict which ones just now, although I have predicted in my head, but I'm not going to do that. That's mean to the developers.
Maybe the greenhouses can be like mini episodes. Like, since there are so many games to cover, like not an in-depth review, but like, here, I played this for like 5 hours and here are my first thoughts on it. I don't know.
I have a plan. I just don't know if I'm definitely going to do it or not. I'm definitely not promising to anything on the podcast.
Yes.
Anyway, that's so many games. Listeners, if you want more episodes, give me more money. I will do more episodes for more money. Cool. Shall we talk about some news?
Yes, we should.
The Wandering Village is out now on early access. So this is the one where you're playing on the back of a wandering creature called Nobu as he walks around the world.
What are your chances of playing this?
I suspect this will be a one that I don't play in early access, probably. But we'll see. It also, I think, I haven't actually looked at any gameplay, but it looks to me like it's more management style rather than like first person style.
I can see that. I mean, I like the look and
So
the art of and feel of it, but yeah, there's just too many games, and I'm not as excited, I think, to play it for early access.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Speaking of management games, we've got Let's Build a Zoos coming to consoles on the 29th of September, including Game Pass. So that's basically all the consoles, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and coming to Game Pass as well, all on the 29th of September. So if you've been waiting for it to come onto Switch or for some reason one of the other consoles, there you go. I will be very interested to see how this works with a controller because it was very mouse focused in my experience. So I'm a little bit worried that it might just be like analog stick as a mouse, which is
Oh,
not a fun way, in my opinion, to play a
no,
management style game. Maybe they'll have a better
no.
way to interact with it. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I should try it out on my Steam
Yeah.
Deck and see if it works with controllers already or not.
Oh, I mean,
Uh,
that's one good way to try it without having to buy it again.
yeah, I'll see. I'll see. Harvestella, we have a demo for Harvestella now. So if you've been interested in how that works, then that's there.
I just love the name Harvestella. I can't not get it because of the name.
Yeah, I'm definitely. As I say, I've started up the demo. I'm probably going to buy the game and play it at some point. I'm not hugely excited about it, and I think that's because, like, so it feels a lot like kind of Rune Factory 5, that kind of style of game. And there's something, I don't know what it is, but there's something about it that is not a huge, I don't enjoy.
Okay. I don't know. I'm just getting a lot of like Final Fantasy vibes, and I like how it looks, and I like the name, and I think I like the setting. So I feel like I will enjoy this, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
see.
We'll see. I'll definitely play the demo, and that will make me decide whether I want to buy the game or not, I think. Um, oh yes, one thing I wanted to note is that when you boot up the game, you can choose male, female, and non-binary.
Wait, for Harvestella?
Yep.
Really? I thought that was
Yep.
only
Nope.
for
We're not
wonderful.
talking about that one.
Oh,
We're not talking about that one yet. But yeah, no, it's
okay.
the Harvestella has that. That was the first thing I noticed when I booted up the demo.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm so excited.
I
I'm even
believe
more
the only
excited.
thing I believe the only thing it changes is pronouns,
Okay.
because there's no kind of restricted stuff in terms of like how you look on your clothes and who you can romance. So it is literally just a pronoun chooser.
Okay. I love it. I
But
love it.
that's still
I
good. That's all good.
yes.
you know, like we're finally getting there. We've been talking about this for years about the inclusion with these games, and the I feel like we're basically there. But maybe
Yeah.
we'll talk more about that in a future game discussion. Before that, though, Harvest Moon 64 is coming to Nintendo Switch Online in Japan. So if you want to play that, you got to get a Japanese account on your Switch.
Uh-huh.
I suspect this won't come to the West because the SNES one, Harvest Moon, is also on Nintendo Switch Online in Japan and hasn't come here.
Okay.
And I think that's because complications around Harvest Moon and Natsumi. I think that it's much easier for them to like remake a game because they can remake a game and then just slap Story of Seasons on it rather than Harvest Moon, and they don't have
Yeah.
to care about the rights because they have the rights to the game and the concept and everything. They just don't have rights to the actual
Call
old
it.
game and the name.
Yeah.
So that way they can just go, we just don't care about dealing with Natsumi. And I mean, that's fair, but it also feels a little bit annoying when we can't get the game. And I don't know
Yeah.
I don't know who it is that's causing the issues. But it would be nice if we could get them as well. Please, I'm thanking you. Please, just whoever it is that's complaining, just give us what we need to get it. We want it.
Yep.
Speaking of remaking a game and then slapping Story of Seasons on it, we have Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life, remake
Yep.
of the GameCube game Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life.
I'm very excited about this. I have not. I mean, I've played Story of Season games, but I've never played an like OG Harvest Moon game. And I know this
Yeah.
has been a lot of people's first one, so I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, I haven't played this one either. We did do an episode on it where Rochelle basically talked me through the game, which was an interesting way of doing it. But I believe the kind of the main interesting thing about this one is that you age as you play the
Mm-hmm.
game, and then you have children, and then I believe when you die, you can play as your child. Um, I think that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I'm very intrigued to play this. I definitely, I mean, I'm always up for playing a remake rather than going back to the original game,
Yeah,
because
for
it
sure.
looks like it. So it definitely looks like they're adding a lot more modern stuff into it than they did for Friends of Mineral Town. Like a lot of things for Friends of Mineral Town were just like it's the same, just looks nicer. They
Mm,
updated like some of the weird translation issues, but other than that, they
okay.
didn't really change any of the gameplay. But it looks like
Mm-hmm.
they're doing that for this. Like I'm seeing a bunch of stuff, kind of just it's mostly small things in terms of like quality of life improvements and stuff. And I don't think it's going to be like perfect, but it feels like it's going to be a lot improved over
Mm-hmm.
um their previous remakes, which is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's also another exciting that I kind of spoilered about.
Yeah,
That
go for
this
it.
game, they've officially announced it. There's going to be a non-binary option for you to choose, and you can marry anyone, no matter which gender you chose. So I'm very very excited about this.
Yeah, so
um,
I suspect this will be the same. It would just be like the non-binary, the gender option, including non-binary, is basically probably just a pronoun selector again, based
mhm,
on the fact that they've said that, like all of their recent games, there's no restrictions on who you can marry, um,
mhm,
which is obviously a change from the original game. But they did this. They did this in Friends of Mineral Town as well, in the remake, which
mhm.
is good. So I think we're well and truly like that we're well and truly there now. It would be interesting to see, are they still calling it, what was it they call it, friendship something in Japan?
Oh
So they
no,
still
yeah.
weren't calling it marriage if it was same sex in Japan. But presumably it
Oh.
will still have the non-binary option. So how are they dealing with
Mhm.
that in Japan? Um, I'm, I'm intrigued. Maybe they've just decided they don't care and they're going to go with it and just call it marriage.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Mhm. Hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah, yeah, we will see. But
Mhm.
I'm very excited about this. I think what I really like about this is, so it looks like a really nice combination of modern graphics, but still feeling like the old game. So it doesn't look like um it doesn't like look like Pioneers of Olive Town, right? It doesn't look like
Mhm.
all. In fact, out of the last 7 Story of Seasons games they've released, none of them have looked the same. They all have kind of like a similar style, but you don't look
Mhm.
at them and get confused about which one is which. They all look visually very different. And I like that. They could have just gone, oh, this is just going to be A Wonderful Life made with the same engine as Pioneers of Olive Town and all the same textures. But they didn't. They've made it
Mhm.
look like a modern version of A Wonderful Life. Like it's still like the grass texture looks a little bit kind of GameCube. It's not like really modern, but it still feels much nicer than the original graphics, and like the lighting is better. It feels much more modern, but not in a brand new game kind of way.
Mhm. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I did also get very much the same vibes. Like it looks kind of like I could see the original like graphics in there, but just also a nicer like resolution, I guess. I don't know. But I
I think they've
completely agree with
remade
that.
all the graphics. I don't
Okay.
think they've ported them over, but they've made them in the like style maybe isn't the right, like it's like an homage to it. Like they've clearly cared about
Mhm.
making it feel like the original game, which is really nice.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I get that. I get those vibes as well.
Also, the 14-year-old character that you can romance looks no longer like they're going to be 14. They look like they're going to be, older now. So that's good. No more child marriage in the game.
Hmm. It looks like they did change some of the naming too of some of these NPCs. At least just from what other people have mentioned that
Yes.
have played it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that it is interesting that they've done that. I'm guessing it's because, like, obviously it's a different translation team and company than they had when this game first came out. But yeah, it's interesting choices of what they've done. Like, for example, Marlon is now called Matthew. Muffy is now
Hmm.
called Molly. I like they all feel like much more kind of like expected Western names, and I'm
Yeah.
intrigued as to like why. But that's not necessarily a good thing. I don't know. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. It's interesting.
Hmm.
I don't. I have mixed feelings on it. Is what I'm going to say.
Same. Yeah. I don't really know where they're directly translating the names from. So I don't know what the original names are, but why
Yeah,
can't we just use the OG names?
yeah.
I
It
don't know.
feels like an odd decision to make, but maybe there's a very particular reason that they went with it.
Hmm.
Uh, it looks like they're also adding in new crops from the original that weren't in the original game, because the Marvelous Europe website says there will be a cornucopia of never before seen crops, which
Interesting.
is
Okay.
interesting.
So they are adding a lot more. Maybe not a lot more,
Yeah,
but definitely not doing it. Um,
yeah,
Not just remaking the whole thing in what's the word when it's like a true remake
yeah.
or not a
It's
true
not. Yeah, I
remake.
know what you mean. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So this
Hmm.
is annoyingly coming out in Japan before everywhere else. Standard for them. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it's coming out in January the 26th in Japan, and in North America and Europe, it is coming out in summer 2023, whenever that is.
Hmm.
So I'm a little bit disappointed because obviously Doraemon Story of Seasons is coming out everywhere at the same time. And I was like, oh, are they going to, actually translate? They're going to localize while they're developing so that they can release everywhere at the same time. And it looks like no.
Yeah.
So a little bit annoying.
Yeah, it is. It might just be a way to get the game out faster, but yeah, definitely disappointing. I don't want to wait.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Speaking of past games by the Harvest Moon developers, we've got Rune Factory 3 Special is coming to Switch next year.
Hmm.
So this is obviously after they released Rune Factory 4 Special a couple of years ago. They're now doing Rune Factory 3 Special. So, um, yeah, I mean, I'm not personally looking forward to this because I didn't enjoy 4, so I'm not sure why I would enjoy 3, but I'm glad
Hmm.
it's coming for some people.
Yeah, if you're excited about it, uh, yay for you.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
I
exactly.
have Rune Factory 4, but I haven't. It's like another game that I think haven't played it. There was nothing I think
Yeah,
that initially drew me in at first, so that's
yeah.
probably why.
Well, I think this is the thing for me. It's like it's taking a farming game and adding on more combat, and I'm like, but that's not why I play a farming game.
Yeah.
And it feels like, certainly with Rune Factory 4, I felt like the farming mechanics were very lackluster. Um and I
Mhm.
felt like they just felt like they didn't fit well, but I'm glad some people like it.
Yeah.
And even more exciting news for them, they're making a new Rune Factory. No information other than
Nope. Nope.
that.
Just
So
like
presumably
a
it'll be Rune Factory 6.
uh huh. Just an interesting choice. Like we know you're going to be releasing another Rune Factory at some point, but I guess it's confirmed officially.
Yeah, I mean they did that with Rune Factory 5 as well. I think they announced that initially that they were making it in 2019, and then it came out
Mm,
this year. So it's
mm.
not that unusual. They've done that before.
Okay. Okay.
And I guess it's kind of nice to be like, oh yeah, we're definitely making another one, by the way.
Hmm.
It's nice to know that. But
I
interestingly, they didn't give the
suppose
name this time, whereas they did with Rune Factory 5. They said, oh, by the way, we're making Rune Factory 5. This time they didn't say we're making Rune Factory 6, which is interesting.
it is. Maybe it's another remake, Rune Factory 2.
I don't think that, no, they've said a new entry. They've not said a remake.
Oh,
They've said
it
a
is.
new
Yep.
entry.
Yep, I see it. Yep. Okay. I mean, I don't know what it would be other than Rune Factory 6, but I suppose they could be trying for something
Well,
new.
well, yeah, so this is the interesting thing. So there was a bit of a confusion when in the direct, what they said was, this is not an exact quote, but it's pretty close. They said, we are working on a new Rune Factory series. And everyone's like, whoa, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by a new Rune Factory series? And then everything else since then has said a new game in the Rune Factory series. So I think that was, somebody chose bad birding and it didn't get screamed
Yeah.
out. And it went on and everybody went, whoa, that's not what we mean, by the way.
Yeah.
So I feel like it is just another Rune Factory rather than something completely different. But I was a bit confused with that wording. And the last thing from the direct was there is another new farming game coming out called Fae Farm. So presumably Fae is fairy, something to do with
Yes,
fairies.
I would assume so. It is a fairy tale life. So yeah, they look like fairies. They have wings. I'm gonna
Yeah,
guess they're fairies.
it's quite it's got a very kind of distinctive-ish art style. The characters look a bit kind of weird and almost chibi-esque without the big heads. Their faces are weird, but in the rest of the graphics, I think looks really great.
I'm I think intrigued by this game just because of the fairy aspect of it. Like
Yeah,
I. I feel like I need to watch a little bit more, or I need a little
yeah.
bit more gameplay to really understand what's going on in here. But it looks cute. I'll say that.
Because every farming game needs a hook, a specific thing to do with them. This one is that it's very focused on multiplayer, so you can play with up to
Yes.
4 people.
Which I suppose is fun, but realistically, I don't play it that often. Like Cody and I have
Yeah,
still
I'm not
not
going to do
played
that.
Garden Paws together.
Yeah.
There's just not enough time, and farming games take up so much time.
There also seem to be a bunch of platforming bits, and a reasonably kind of, it looks like a reasonably comprehensive combat element, but not like Rune Factory-esque. I mean, I just looking at this, I really love the graphics in general. I hate the player faces a lot. I don't know why, but there's something about them that just really annoys me. But the graphics in general, I think, are really, really good. I think this looks gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah. I love like how vibrant everything looks in here, and can understand. I think about the faces just not being. They're fine. It's whatever. I'm sure I'm not going to be looking at the faces most of the time.
They look like they're dead. They're looking at me with dead faces, and it's unsettling.
They are
Like there was a
fey.
point where one of them was cutting down a tree and did a different facial expression, and that was much better. It was their like neutral facial expression is very unsettling.
Well, the Fae can often be like darker creatures or like tricksters, so maybe there's some element of that in there. I don't know.
I don't. I think you're reading into that too much.
Maybe, but it's
I think it's
specifically
just a
Fae
bad
Farm,
face.
not fairy. Fae. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the kind of like fae versus fairy is mostly just kind of like a cultural thing. Like, the name comes from a different place type thing. I don't know. Like, I don't think there's
Well,
kind of like, this is the difference between them.
maybe I just watch too much like fantasy stuff.
Well,
Or, like,
that's the thing as
indie
well.
stuff.
You've got
Yeah.
that is the problem, right? Like exactly what like because looking at the etymology, it looks like fae and fairy are very connected in terms of name. Oh, I don't know. It's I think yeah. There's probably it depends on which fantasy you're reading.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
actually I recently just watched what's it called? Fate, the Winx saga. Have you seen that? So
I've not.
Netflix one, I presume based on a book. That was kind of like obviously vaguely interesting. Um, but I don't know what my point was. Just that's a thing. Like, there's just so many different things.
There's so many things.
So many things.
Uh-huh. And another thing.
Another thing. Turnip Boy robs a bank.
Uh-huh. How do you feel
It's
about
a new
this?
game. I'm
It
so
is.
excited.
I love Turnip Boy commits tax was evasion so much. I'm excited for a new game in the series just because of how quirky the first one is, but I'm also
Yeah.
slightly apprehensive, I think.
Why?
Uh, it looks like it might become more of a shooter. Like it might be more combat heavy than it was previously.
Oh, the game
I
was
don't
really
know.
combat heavy.
I mean, sure, but like, it didn't. I don't know. I feel like having the gun, it just gives it a whole different vibe.
See, I like the gun because like it's different from what it was before. Like if you just want the same game again, just play the same game. Like I like the fact that
True.
they're doing different weapons and different story and different like it's a different game, but it's a similar concept. And like I think like because I don't think it's like, oh, no alternate boy games are going to be shooters. Like I don't think that will be what it is. Like they're just trying different things. And there was definitely a scene in the trailer that had a melee weapon. So like I don't think it's like 100% guns. I just think it's like they're adding new things. And like was there not at least one gun in the original game?
I think so. But I guess it just the combat looks a lot more. I don't want the volume. I think the combat just looks a lot more intense than it did previously because you have much more like projectiles to be like
Yeah, that's
dodging
fair.
now.
I'm quite excited about that personally. And I
Okay.
think it's just like they're always going to show you the most intense things in a trailer. Like I think if you go
True.
look at the original Turnip Boy commits tax evasion trailer, I suspect it will be just as insane. Like
I
it'll be just as busy, I think.
Oh my goodness, they have a plushie. There's a plushie for Turnip Boy Bank Robber plushie.
Yeah, I'm watching the
Sorry.
trailer for Turnip Boy commits tax evasion, and it feels quite hectic in the same sort of way. Like when they're showing the
Okay.
combat, it's showing the more intense parts of the combat. Like
Okay.
I see at least two different boss fights, and they're showing you the bombs and the different things. So I think it's just they're just trying to show you different
Okay. That makes me feel a little
things,
better.
and
Okay.
they're not going to show you the bits where you're just walking from point A to point B. You know, that's
True.
not exciting for the trailer.
Uh-huh. I did love this game. So I will say I'm very excited. I will definitely be playing it and getting it. I think I was just slightly concerned, but now you have alleviated my concerns. And oh my goodness, I'm scrolling through their Twitter and I've seen Turnip Boy compared to Smoliv, and I love this.
I'm
Oh,
very
I love
excited.
this. Uh huh.
So that's coming next year sometime. It's confirmed for Steam, Xbox, and also coming to Game Pass. They have said that they will be planning to come to other consoles, but they'll be announcing what's happening later. So I wouldn't worry about your Switch. I suspect it will be coming to Switch. We will.
I mean, the
We'll find out about
original
that
did,
later.
so yeah.
Yeah. It's just they specifically announced what it's coming to, and then they tweeted in reply to someone saying other console announcements later. Basically,
Okay.
the game is not an Xbox exclusive, and we will be announcing more platforms before release. It's just funny that they announce some of it, but announce that they're going to announce more of it later. You're like, I don't. It's not like we're expecting this to be on an Amiga, right? Like it's either going to be on Switch and PlayStation or it's not, right? Like it doesn't feel like it's going to be that much of a question. But anyway, we'll see what happens. And the final piece of news is another game that I've found, which we don't have much information on, but there's a Twitter account with a bunch of small screenshots and videos, and this is called Little Lands. So it's an action adventure game, but they do seem to have a big section of farming as well, which is why I've included it. And oh my word, it's very adorable. It's kind of similar art style to the Link's Awakening remake.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
the
like the
same
look of it. It
vibes.
looked gorgeous.
I also like how this looks. Yeah, I guess excited to learn more about it eventually.
Yeah, yeah. There's not much to say about it just now. Just I like it. I like the look of it. We'll see. We'll keep you up to date with it. It's on my spreadsheet for upcoming games. All right, let's talk about Ooblets.
Ooblets.
So, before we get into discussion, if you really want to get into all of this and you want to be up to date on everything, I would highly recommend going and listening to our previous episode on Ooblets because we talked about this. I don't know if you looked at the date, Bev, but we released our first impressions Ooblets early access episode as of time of recording 2 years and 3 days ago.
Oh my goodness. That is very apt.
Amazing timing. So it'll be like 2 years and a week by the time this episode comes out. But it was just amazing timing that we're releasing this the same week 2 years later.
Beautiful. That is definitely beautiful.
So we're not going to go really heavy on the mechanics of the game in this episode because we mostly covered that in the previous episode. And we're going to talk more about things that we didn't talk about back then, because obviously when it was just out in early access, there was a kind of a very small area. One of the things I really like about how they did Ooblets early access was like, and I'll be interested to see how you feel about it now that we've played 1.0, but I feel like the early access version was very stable and very true to the final game, but just a very like confined part of the game. And I think that was really well done. It's not like there weren't missing features. There were missing features and they added them in future updates. But you didn't feel like there was much missing from it. You felt like this is a game. Like we're playing a finished game here. It's just missing a bunch of content.
And you're just like closed off from I think a lot of the newer portions of the game, which I think was very well done. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how like the natural progression of games feel anyway, especially like linearly like styled games like they so and that's the overall structure of it. Like you eventually unlock other areas, and that was very much the case, I think, over the course of the early access. Was just a slow progression, like a lot slower than it being fully out now, but just a slow progression of the overall game.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Where did you get? So we just have a quick, I guess, chat about where we got in the game. So I have finished the story. There is one of like the main tasks that I've not done, but it's not like the main story. It's just about leveling up the wildlands to level 10. So I haven't done that one purely because it just takes so long because you can only do like a fifth of a level every day. And that's if you get one that you can complete, because sometimes it gives you a challenge that you can't actually complete. And so you can either like try and do that over the course of a couple of days or cancel it and get a new one tomorrow. So it will take you 5 in-game days to go up a level in the best case scenario. So, and that's a long time. So I haven't finished that one, but I've done the rest of the story. And I'm nowhere near collecting all of the Ooblets. I'm maybe like a 1/7 of the way through collecting the Ooblets.
Okay.
Whereabouts are you?
I have also finished the story. I definitely did not. I think cover all of the I did not finish all of the quest lines. Like there's still a gift basket that I haven't. I think I'm on the first gift basket, which I have not.
Was that
completed.
not required for the story?
No,
interesting.
It wasn't. Surprisingly,
I just did all of the tasks as they came up, other than the wildlands.
So that is definitely interesting, and I think just finished it after completing the story, so it was like interesting to see that the dialogue hadn't really changed. So I don't know if that's something that's still.
That's a really funny one to miss out because
it is.
Oh, I'm not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the story and some spoilers later on, but that's a really funny one to miss. Is all I'm going to say at this point.
And I think one of the clubs I haven't unlocked yet. So there's 4 different clubs that you're introduced to immediately, and that's what you select. So I haven't, I think, or maybe I just unlocked the friend buns one.
Right. Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah. No.
I
When
was
I say when
definitely
I say I did them all as they came, I mean I did them all as they came. Like literally, that would be the first thing I would
uh-huh.
focus on is just going through that. So yeah, I got
Uh-huh.
them the like basically the next day after I got those challenges. Most of them.
Okay. Yeah, I was more so I think focused on exploring new areas than trying to like
Yeah.
complete everything because I knew this deadline was coming up like
Yeah,
for
that's fair.
recording it and wanted to make sure I had like at least all the newer stuff covered.
Yeah.
And I thought at one point that I did, and then I just spoke to another slacker about it, and then she was like, "Oh, you haven't like I'm at this area," and I'm like, "What? What is this area? This is not what?" So yeah, I thought I was done, and then I wasn't. So that was also exciting to know that there was a whole bunch of stuff that I hadn't
Yeah.
looked into yet.
Yeah. So I double checked. I have 20 different ooblets, and there are 50 in total. So I'm at 40% of them, which is
Nice.
further than
Okay,
I thought I was.
I have a spreadsheet because of course I do. And let me see. I think most so focused on collecting Gleamies this time around. So I was not trying to just get everything. I was hoarding my supplies to make sure that if a Gleamy did appear, then I had the resources to get it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's actually really funny. So I was listening to the last episode we did, and we talked about that. And we're like, "Oh," I said, "So I guess you've not got any Gleamies yet." Because I had none, and you're like, "Oh no, I got one," and I'm like, "Oh wow!" And it's really funny. Like now that we've actually got the full game, I have 7 Gleamies now. So like, it's such a massive difference, and that probably just
uh-huh.
shows you the massive difference in time that we actually played the game for. But yeah, there were multiple
Mm-hmm.
days where a Gleamy showed up, and I was like, "Well, that's what I'm doing. That's my plan for the day." And
Uh-huh.
so like there was a Gleamy, what's that one called? Legsy, that pops up, and I was
Ooh.
like, "Oh, well, I guess I'm going to go get a Legsy." But the fun thing was, I didn't have any of the thing that it needs, the candy
Mm-hmm.
salad,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was really fun trying to get that because you have to fish for it in Port Forward to get
Uh-huh.
the candy to make the candy salad. Um, and it was a lot of fishing to get the right thing. And so I literally, it was almost morning by the time I went to bed. Like, I
Uh-huh.
don't know if there's a point in this game where you'll like pass out like many farming games. I don't know if that's a thing or not. But if it is a thing, I was almost there. Like it was the sun was actually starting to rise when I went to bed.
Oh my goodness.
So it just actually just keeps going.
I think so. I think I've only stayed up like really late, like once or twice, and I don't recall ever passing out, but I think maybe you do just to get that
I'm gonna
start of
leave this
day.
game running just now and see what happens because it's currently dusk. The sun is setting. I'm just gonna see what happens.
Okay. But I understand that struggle of like, oh my goodness, there's a Gleamy. I don't have any of the things that I need to get it. Oh,
Yeah,
oh dear. And then start running around trying to get it.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, I've nearly got a full team of Gleamies. So
Okay.
that's a good status to be in.
I think I have 6 Gleamies in this run through on the Switch. So that's, I guess, impressive. I don't know if
Yeah,
if they changed
not bad.
like increase like the odds of them appearing, or if I just got really lucky. So yeah, interesting.
I think it was just that we didn't play a huge amount of it because obviously there was really just the I think it was 2 areas and we didn't really even go to the second area. We mostly just did the main town. And so there's only so much you can get there because obviously most of the story didn't exist. So I suspect it's just the amount of time that we've played for. Because I don't know about you, but I have played this game a lot over the last 2 weeks.
I feel like I have put in a lot of time to this game. Like over the course of the past 2 years, and I played on Epic, and I don't know if Epic like captures how many hours you've done. So I
I
don't know
don't
if I
think
can
so.
do that. But I can probably look at to see like how much Switch time. So I feel like I was almost speedrunning the Ooblets.
Yeah, I found that I was very efficient in this compared to the first time. So like simple things like, I knew exactly what I wanted to unlock in the wishes. I
Exactly.
just unlocked what I cared about. Like I was forgetting about all these like I didn't make any of the first level of sprinklers because I was like, they're useless.
Oh
I'm never
yeah,
going to want them.
yeah.
I'm
Went
only going to
straight for
get
the
the higher
Ooccoops.
level of sprinklers.
Oh, I went
And
straight
yeah,
for
they get
Ooccoops.
oh, interesting. Well,
Uh huh.
let's come back to them because there's a section of complaints I want to make, and one of them
Okay.
includes oopcoops.
Okay.
If I haven't written, no, I have written that down. That's that one there. Let's talk about. So you mentioned Switch, and I've mentioned Steam Deck. Let's talk about that because we both played this game in early access on the PC on Epic because that's what it was. It was also on Xbox, but I don't think either of us have it. You don't have an Xbox, do you?
No.
No. So we both had to play it on PC. This
Mhm.
time around, you bought it on Switch. I did not make you buy it on Switch. I would just like to point that out. I was
You
going to
did
buy it on
not.
Switch if you weren't going to, and then you convinced yourself to buy it on Switch. You heard it here first, listeners.
Yes, I needed it. I did not want to. I bought it. So I bought the physical version. Like there was a pre-order sale at, was it Fangamer, and that's not
Yeah.
coming out until December. And I was like, I'm very tired of sitting at my desk because my desk is my work desk, and that's where I also play my games that are on my computer. And I don't have the Steam Deck that's coming to me hopefully in the last quarter of this year. So I was like, I want to play this game, and I don't want to sit at my desk anymore. So I'm just getting it. I'm getting. That's why I got it.
Yes. So you played it on Switch, and I played it on Steam Deck because my Steam Deck did arrive last month, I think, and perfectly just in time to start playing Ooblets, which is the first one I did. Interestingly, obviously, I did not buy it on Steam, so I had to figure out getting Epic games on the Steam Deck. It was a bit of a faff to get it done,
Mm.
but and now that I have it, it works pretty well. It's funny with the Steam Deck, right? Because it has a lot of flexibility and you can basically do anything you want. But if it's not just running a Steam game, it will be painful in some way because it's not designed to do these other things. It just can. So it's like, so for example, Epic Games doesn't exist on Linux. And of course, the Steam Deck runs Linux. There is someone has developed an open source game launcher for Epic and GOG. So you install that and then you log in and then you download the games. But of course, the games, because Epic only works on Windows, they don't have any way of providing non-Windows builds. So it's all Windows builds. So then it also runs them through Wine. But it's really nice because it actually like deals with all that yourself, and you can then create a launcher for the game and have that then tied into into Steam. You can say this is my game, and then you can actually launch it from the main Steam Deck launcher. And so that works really well. I have Ooblets on my home screen. I click it and it plays it. But it's really funny because like if there's an update to Ooblets, it doesn't open the game. It opens the launcher instead of the game and it goes, oh, hey, there's an update. And you're like, okay, great. That's funny.
Interesting.
Not exactly the kind of ideal way of doing these things. So you click update and then you run the game again. But then if there's no update, you click on it, it just runs the game. It's just really funny the way that it works because it's obviously running a launcher from another launcher.
Yeah, that is
So it's
interesting.
just funny things like that. But the game ran incredibly on the Steam Deck. So they have gamepad, like controller support. And so it all just works exactly as you would expect. It's really nice. And the touchscreen even works because the way that the Steam Deck works with the touchscreen is it just simulates mouse presses. So because it
Ooh.
supports that, it just all works. It's really nice. Yeah, I think I do not regret just playing this on Steam Deck at all. It was good fun. And I think has been a really nice game to play. To get used to the Steam Deck because it has been really nicely developed for that. Like, you start it up and it defaults to thinking you're using mouse and keyboard. And after like 5 seconds of using the controls, it goes, hey, it looks like you're using a controller. Would you like to switch to the controller controls? And then it shows like all the little bits of like, you press this button to bring up this menu. They all switch to the controllers and it all works really nicely. The one thing I really don't like about the Steam Deck just now is the A and B buttons are switched from the Switch. That's messing with my head.
Yeah.
But that's not
And
that's an issue with so many things. It's the same with like PlayStation. The X
yeah.
is meant to be the same equivalent as A, and that's where the B button is on the Switch. And oh, it drives me insane. But
Yep. Like I just got Hades on Switch and was playing that. Also, like it has cloud sync, so I could just play the same game that I was playing on my PC. But I was using a PS4
nice.
controller on my computer.
Oh no,
And so yeah, I was like, do I put
same
the
issue. Yeah,
which one do I put the regular attack on, and which one do I put the
yeah.
special? Because they're now
Yeah.
different on two different controllers.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
and this is the thing. Like, you can change the controls, but the problem is then if you say I want to like have this this one being A and this one being B rather than this one being B and this one being A, the problem then is that it shows on the screen as being B and A instead of A and B. So then, if you forget what it is you're pressing, you look at it and you go, oh, that's A. So you press the A button physically on the controller, but no, that's mapped to now B. So you confuse. Like, I really want them to like be able to have a thing where you can actually change what the button says physically as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
I can just say like switch these buttons. I just always want the B to A and the A to be B, and let me see it as that, so that you then could map that the other way around. But it's the same with X and Y. X and Y are the wrong way around from Switch as well. And I think it's more confusing with this way than it is with the PlayStation, because at least the PlayStation has different. It's not A, B, X, Y. It's the symbols.
The symbols.
So
yeah.
like if you're looking for it, you don't see A and go, oh, I need to press A, and then you press B. You see X and you go, oh, I need to press X. Right? Well, I'll know what X is. But I mean, it's such a pointless thing to complain about. But it just messes with my head. And I really want them to have a good way to solve it, but it doesn't exist.
Nope. I guess other than I don't even know if can you use a PlayStation controller on a Switch, like instead of a Pro controller.
You can't by default, but if you get the what's it called? There's the little where is it?
So I suppose that would be a fix. Is this if you were to just always use one controller?
But this is the thing. Like the whole point is portability. I don't want to be adding on another controller to it.
Yeah.
The Switch Up, that's what it's called, the Switch Up. If you use the Switch Up, you can plug any controller into that and use that. So,
right. Okay.
I have done that, and I've used a PS4. I've used a PS4 controller with my Switch, but like I don't want to carry around a controller with my Switch.
No,
like it doesn't.
Definitely not.
I don't want to do that, and I don't want to carry a controller around with my Steam Deck, especially with how nice the Steam Deck is to hold. So, I think that's kind of my kind of Steam Deck review, apparently. But I think I really enjoyed playing it. I think I played the game more because it was on the Steam Deck than on the PC. Because in our last conversation about Ooblets, we complained about having to play it on PC because neither of us enjoy playing games on PC. And we were really looking forward to being on Switch. Didn't know about the Steam Deck at that point. And I have played it so much because of that. You know, you can just sit on the sofa playing it. You can pick it up during lunch, or play it in bed. Just wherever you want to play it.
There's been several nights in the past 2 weeks where I just couldn't sleep, and I was like, I'm just gonna play Ooblets, and I'm gonna play it downstairs while I'm laying on the couch because I'm trying to fall asleep. And it's definitely I love that it's now on Switch. It's my favorite way to play it, definitely. And like none of it has really changed, like other than using controllers instead of a mouse and pointing and clicking. Like in some aspects, it's
done really nicely. The controller mapping is done really nicely. It all works. Like you never feel like you're just simulating a mouse cursor, which so many games do. It works really nicely. It's a really good example of how to do that. And in the settings, you can remap things. You can change the controls to whatever you want. So these things are great.
I don't recall like any complaints about it playing it on the Switch as opposed to on PC.
Right. So there's no like kind of performance issues or anything.
I mean, there's definitely still some bugs out for Switch.
We need to talk about this. Yes, the shop.
Yeah, the shop is still not.
Don't go in the shop if you're on
Do not.
Switch.
do not. Like,
It's
just
okay
don't even start
if you're
it.
on
PC.
if you're on PC, it's fine because there is an update. Just make sure you're updated. But the update
Uh-huh.
isn't out on Switch yet because of the fun review process. So this is
Yeah.
our important announcement. Do not go into the shop until you know there's an update. I will probably retweet when they have got it out, but go check the Ooblets Twitter before you do that. It's a soft lock, so you won't destroy. There is a way to fix it, but just don't go in the shop.
Yeah.
And I'll be totally honest with you. So
Even
this
start
the
it.
shop was one of these. The shop was one of these things that didn't exist when we were playing it, obviously.
Yes.
And obviously you won't have any input on this because you haven't played it. But I was not impressed by the shop. I don't know why I would ever actually use the shop. So the way the shop works is you put out your displays and you put a thing on the display, and then you have to stand in the shop while people come in and decide whether they're going to buy the thing or not, and then you ring them up. You can only put one thing on each display at one time, so you can't put a stack of things in, and people are buying things individually one by one. And it's just such a slow way
Oh.
to make money, and it's so late in the game that I do not know why anybody would ever use it.
Wait, so like even if you have the same item, you can't stack it.
You cannot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna like that.
And people come into your shop looking for a specific thing. So you can talk to them and they'll say, "Oh, I'm looking for this," and then you can put that down and they buy it. And it's just I mean, you have to be in the shop the whole time as well. It's not like a self-running thing. It's an interesting idea, but I don't know why. I tried it out twice and went, "No, I'm never doing this again." I don't. It's not fun. It's not an efficient way to do things. It's so much quicker to do Plenty's orders, especially. Have you done the highest level of Plenty's orders? Because with some of those Plenty's orders, you can get a lot of money so quickly.
Oh yeah.
If you plant Muzz and you plant Zanuka, you can make the blue goo pie. If you make 30 blue goo pies, you can make $4,000 like that. And that takes you 4 days to grow it and make it into and then sell it, and it's done. And you make so much money that way that everything else is pointless by the time you get to that.
Plenty's and the dirigible puzzle game are my main ways to get money at any point in the game, I feel like.
Yeah.
So that is interesting. It's very similar, it sounds like, to Garden Paws, where you have to man your shop. You have to open it, you have to close it, and sell it yourself. So that's interesting, but I don't like that they come in asking for a specific thing, so you can't sell whatever you want, and it doesn't stack.
Yeah. I just it feels a little bit lackluster, and I think it's the only feature in the game that I feel like if it didn't exist, I would not be sad. Everything else I think is really, really good. We have some issues, which we're going to talk about. I have some small issues with this should be better. Here's a thing they should add, blah, 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 blah. But there's no other feature in the game that I go, I don't like this. I think it's a bad feature. They could improve it. They could make it better. But as it is, I don't think I would ever use it. And I don't understand anybody that would. Unless you specifically want to play a shop manning game, where Mineko's Night Market is coming out soon. That is what that is. It's a shop game. The whole point is to man the shop. There was Lemon Cake. That was the whole point of that game. That's fine. That's not what this game is for.
So yeah, I don't know.
Sorry.
No, I definitely.
So I think, is there anything else to talk about? Is there anything else to talk about it being on Switch?
No, I think that's it.
It's a good port. You're happy with it. No big issues.
Very happy.
Other than the bug. Cool. So let's very quickly go through the mechanics of farming and battling, just very quickly. They've basically not changed since the early access, because they were so good, and so they basically fleshed them out. So I we're not going to talk too much about it, but the farming is pretty standard. You hoe, you sow, you water, you grow, you reap. The kind of one big thing about it that's different from most of them is that weeds can grow on your plants, and you have to weed them. And if you don't weed them, they will wilt. And if you don't weed them still, they will eventually die. and they don't grow while they're weeding, so you need to de-weed them. That's fine. I think it's a little bit of an annoying thing for me because like what I tend to do is like here's 100 of this one plant, and then you go and harvest them all after the time. And if you've missed one of them having a weed, it's not going to grow for another day. So you end up like harvesting everything. You've just got one random plant sitting there, and it's really annoying. And you're like, do I wait until that's done and then sow again everything, or do I just plant everything and then that one will be randomly growing much quicker than the other ones, or do I kill that one and then just do it, like just take the loss? Like I don't like that decision, and it's a little bit annoying. I like the idea, but it's not. Yeah, I'm not. It's
You're
not
much more
big enough
organized
that
than
I would
I am.
hate it. Let me tell you, I don't have the biggest farm. I haven't increased my farm size, but everything is crop on my farm. I have 15 by 20 of farmland using sprinklers, and then I have 15 by 3 on Ooblets, and that's it. I do all of that, and so I can grow almost over 300 crops at once.
That's beautiful. I
So what
have
I'm
not
I'm
done that.
I'm currently growing 100 Muzz, 100 Sweetie Beatie, and 100 Zanuka.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, it's just like it's literally the entire farm is covered. At some point, I might upgrade it and then do even more. I'm not sure. We'll see. But yeah, like I'm very particular about how I do farming, and the weeds just really muck it up.
There's also I think one mechanic that like snow, which I have not seen in like the 30 hours. I did check. I have 30 hours.
I haven't either. There don't seem to be seasons in this game. It seems like it's just the snow happens randomly, and yeah, it hasn't happened for me.
Yeah, and I think that's because it's I think the seasons are based off of IRL seasons. At least from past events, they've had a Halloween event only during Halloween. They've had a Christmas event like a winter holidays event. So I think during the winter months, those months are likely to see snow more often. Like for example, I had a Gleamy woodland show up on my on one of my days, and I could not get it because I did not have any snow plops because it has not snowed.
You can get snow plops through the dance barn.
Yes, but I
so
only
you can
had
win
the
them
one
that way.
And I needed like 9.
Yeah. And I didn't. When I got a few, I had like 4 or something, and I was really like there was one day where I needed many more bait than I had, and the snow plops get you like 30 things in the reconstitutor. And so I was like, I've not seen anything that I can use these for. Let me just throw them in the reconstitutor and get that win now, because that was like 120 in the reconstitutor. That was great. And then 2 days later, I had the same thing with the Gleamy that I couldn't get because I didn't have the snow plops. So that was annoying.
So
But yeah, like it would be nice to have them at all. Like it is a bit weird, that decision.
So I am interested. Like I'm almost interested to see like what happens if I were to change like my date and time on my Switch. What would happen to Ooblets? Like, would it automatically switch to the Halloween event? Would it switch automatically to the winter event? Could I just play in December and I will have more likely chances of getting snow? I don't know. I'm not equipped for snow yet. I don't want snow yet because I need those heaters, but I'm interested to see.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I haven't tried that. Maybe try it sometime and
I will. I mean, it's almost Halloween, so I'm sure I can just naturally wait for that to come around. But yeah,
for that one, yeah. But like we need to test this, you know.
Yeah, we do. I'm tempted to test it right now, but that means I have to go through a full day because I would need to start. I think to finish the day that I have in there.
Yeah. So I don't think there's a huge amount more to talk about farming. Like, I've got a few more complaints, but I think we'll talk about them later on. The farming really hasn't changed since the early access, which is fine because
Yeah.
it's a generally a good farming game. Like as
Yeah.
a farming game, I think it's pretty good. There are some things that they could improve, but like it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Agreed.
The battling again hasn't changed very much. I think the kind of biggest thing, obviously, is the fact that there are more ooblets and there's more cards. And I don't think I played the dance barn initially. You did the dance barn in the early
Yep.
access, didn't you?
Yeah. So
Has
a
that
couple things with
changed
the
at all, or
battling.
is that exactly the
Yes.
same?
That has changed. So the results of what you win from the dance barn has changed. It used to just be exclusively seeds. So I got a lot of common
Right. Okay.
ooblets that way. And I
Yeah.
think at one point they were leaning towards exclusive seeds via the dance barns, like only a few
Right.
types of ooblets. But it looks like they've since moved away from that. So now it's mostly resources that they're giving you, which is
Yeah.
nice. Like,
And some really good ones. So you can like I
yeah.
once won a level 4 Oob Coop.
Oh yeah, same. And I was like, this is fantastic because it takes a lot
Yeah,
of
crazy.
resources to get to
It
level
really
4.
does. Even just the obsidian, I think it's like 1 obsidian per level, so you end up using 4 obsidian. And then obviously the 1 to initially create it. So you've saved 5 obsidian there, and that's not even thinking about the nernies and plankies.
Yep. And
Planklets.
nernies, there's no way to like farm nernies other than on your farm, which is partly why I leave half
Yeah.
of my farm like empty so the rocks can spawn for my oob cubes.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. There's
I will
also
say
you can get big nerny bundles in the dance barn as
yes.
well though.
Yeah.
But yeah,
which is
they're not
nice.
reliable, obviously.
No, and I think you can fish them up too. Also not reliable. There's an island now which will have a few, but like that's only like 2 to 3 that you can actually get.
Yeah,
Again, not reliable.
a handful. Yeah.
At least with battling, I've noticed a few of the moves have changed with the ooblets. So some small changes.
Right.
Like at one point, I had made a gleaming farming team because one of the ooblets, I forget which one, I think it was like Gubby or something, had a move that would spam that would make a Gleamy spawn somewhere in your region, or
Yeah,
I think in the region
that's now
yeah.
that card still exists. You just have to get it
Yes.
from one of the clubhouses.
Yep, which is much harder to farm, in my opinion, which is maybe why they made that
It
choice.
is. Yeah. Since I bought it, and I've done maybe like 30 or 40 battles since I bought it, I have only had it come up once.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I've had it come up once somehow, I think from like a random like redraw. I don't even know. I didn't buy it, but it appeared
interesting.
in my hand and I was like, I'm using this right now.
Yeah, I don't care about this dance battle anymore. I want
Yep,
the Gleamy.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, I think other than that, nothing much has changed in terms of the battling mechanics.
Yeah, and I think that's fine because like it's a pretty good. I enjoy the battle system.
Oh yeah.
Like I like the kind of combination of it being like a card game, but you're like actually seeing the battle layout. I like the kind of. I think they've obviously improved some of the balancing, but I think in general it's really nicely balanced. There's lots of different strategies. We talked a bit about that in the last episode. There's lots of different strategies. So each of your ooblets has different signature cards, but you also have like just your general cards as well. And then there are special ones you can buy from the clubhouses. And so they bring a whole bunch of different strategies. So there's, for example, in the dance barn, there's like a type of battle which is signatures only. And I have a foolproof strategy for the one-on-one signatures because
Beautiful.
Clomper has 2 cards that combine together to make it impossible to lose. So you have one which is gain 5 points and lose all your hype. So you gain 5 points and you don't have any hype, so that's fine. And then the second one is stun an enemy for 1 turn. And of course, it's 1v1, so you stun the one person, the one ooblet they have. Then it's immediately back to your turn. You gain the 5, you stun them, back to your turn. Gain the 5, stun the turn, done. Gain the 5, you've won. And it's impossible to lose that game because you always go first as the player, so they can't do it back at you.
Oh, I've lost it. Using Clomper. because I would forget.
Yeah.
This is a
I was
signatures
beaten by a
only.
clomper once.
Yeah, I would forget, and yeah, I've lost a clomper before, I think, doing that. But I would
Yeah.
use like Biddle, which I like Biddle because you can steal a signature move for free. But if
Ooh,
but I have
nice.
no way to generate your own points only by stealing. So if your Ooblet, if
Yes.
the opponent can't generate their own points, then you're just stuck. You're both stuck at zero, and it's not a
Yeah.
tie. You lose.
Yeah.
You lose if you're
Yeah.
a tie, and
Yeah.
it's, I hate it. So I've made that mistake a couple of times.
Yeah. No, it's but yeah, I like the different strategies. I'm having fun kind of bringing up different strategies. I like Lumpstuck, who has a bunch
Yeah.
of hype based cards, which is really good fun because it's like one of them is like gain 3 points and a hype, and then
Yep.
obviously the next turn it'll be gain 4 points and a hype, and then it'll be gain 5. I love the channel the chain reaction of that. It works really
Yep.
well.
You can also steal points and give what's it call it? The one that makes it decrease. Was it starts with an F? Like whatever. Yeah, give him the negative thing that decreases the number of points.
Oh, Fluster.
Yes, Fluster. And I think one thing I think they added as well, which is like a quality of life improvement, if I'm recalling correctly, was being able to see the moves from the menu, like who you're to select for your Ooblets. Because I don't recall
There's
that
still,
being
as far as I
there.
can tell, there's still no way to see like these are all the cards I have.
Yeah.
Like you, because we were talking about it'd be really nice if you could have like view a deck, and you still can't do that. But yeah, you can look at your Ooblet and um see what their signatures are.
Yeah. So that's something. I will say I wish we can have that deck be able to see that elsewhere, but yeah, I like that.
Yeah, because I don't think there's any way to like see even the ones you've bought for like the custom ones you've bought. Like you can only see what your Ooblets have as their signatures, and that's it. And that
Yeah.
seems like a weird thing to miss. But maybe I don't know. I've not seen anything about any future updates that they're planning. I don't know if they're planning on doing any more or if they're going, no, this is us done. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and that might just be a choice. Like they don't want it to become too much of a deck builder, and like people just start caring more about their decks and the Ooblets themselves. So maybe that is a choice. But if I could ask for one additional thing, it would be that.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that because, like, if you really want to play this game and not have anything to do with Ooblets, you can just farm the whole time. Like, you don't have to have the Ooblets. So, like, I don't see why you would want to restrict how people can play your game. And like, there are 3 major parts of the game: farming, Ooblets, the decks, and they're missing quite a significant thing, I think, with the decks, which is being able to see your deck. So like, exactly what cards you get sometimes feels like a mystery. It's just, anyway. So I think that's kind of mostly the battling and farming mechanics that we kind of covered in a bit more detail in the last episode. I don't know how much we want to talk about the different areas, but obviously there's like a bunch of different areas, most of which are new since the first version of the early access. They're all very unique areas. They have like unique Ooblets to them. So there are many Ooblets you can only get in specific areas. And there's obviously different characters, and you kind of get to the different areas as you progress through the story. I don't know. I mean, are you wanting to talk about any of the specific areas? I mean, I think they're all fine and fun in their own right, but I don't think there's anything I really want to kind of like talk too much in detail about them. What do you think?
I feel like there's like 2 that I want to highlight. So I want to highlight Port Forward because that's, I feel like, one of the most different out of all the other ones based off of how you have to unlock it. And I recall when I first unlocked it during the early access having some concerns with it because it's mini games that you have to unlock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you
And
gonna? I think I know what you're gonna say because it's really nice how they've added a way to not have to play
yes,
the mini games and you can still
yes,
continue. So you can either play the
exactly.
mini games and get the high score on them and then progress, or there's a literally a person you can pay to hack you into the high score on it. I really like that. Like
I
I love
really
that
did
because
too.
I did that for a couple of them. Like I played most of them
Uh huh.
normally, but there was a couple of them I did that for because I was like, oh, I'm not really enjoying this mini game. I can't really be
Yep.
bothered, and I have a lot of money, you know.
Yep. Exactly. Like I unlocked them all on the early access, like on my PC, and it took a while. And I remember having a lot of concerns because this is like it could be an accessibility like issue. Like you picked up this game to farm, not to play like these mini games
Exactly.
that do
Yeah.
have like reaction like times that you
Yeah.
have to incorporate.
Oh
And
yeah.
I think they
That's their
did
entire
listen.
point, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think they did listen to like feedback from that, and that's how where they
Yeah.
like introduce the hacker. So
Yeah.
I think just definitely wanted to highlight that and the appreciation behind the dev team for
Yeah.
taking that feedback and taking that consideration and adding that. Um,
Not just that, but I think it was done in a really good way because
yeah.
it's like it's still it works with the like feel of the game. It's
Hmm.
funny. It and it's not just like, oh, you can just ignore it. Like you still have to
Hmm.
work. You have to get the money to be able to pay it.
I think at some point it was more expensive, like it was 1,000 gummies instead of 300, which might have been too much of
Right. Oh,
a.
that's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I then they like obviously decreased it to 300, and I definitely did it for 2 or 3 games. I think for this for on the Switch just to speed up my run because I was not
Yeah.
going to spend as much time as I did on the first one trying to beat some of those that I could not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the second area I wanted to highlight too was the Treasure Islands, which is also something
Oh,
I don't know if it
yes.
came
Yeah.
out with the 1.0.
I don't
Um,
know. I've not really been paying that much attention to what came with what update.
yeah,
I
I'm
guess probably
assuming
people who've
it
been
came out
playing
with
it
it.
more, people who played it more kind of like all the time probably would have. But I don't know about you, but I basically played the first version of the early access and then 1.0. I didn't play anything else between the two of them.
I played for I think almost for every new area that was introduced. I played except for the most recent one, the last one.
Right.
I said the last area that was introduced,
Ah,
or maybe the second to last, depending on the last geographic area on the map at least, like tippy top.
yes.
Okay, yeah. So I did
Fair
not
enough.
play for that update. Um,
Okay. That's fine.
but I remember being really excited about the Phantom Bear Hill one. um, so
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's what I really
They're
jumped back
ridiculous.
in. Uh huh. I love them so much. But anyway, the Treasure Islands are interesting because it's like a way to get more obsidians. I feel like, which is really nice. But at the
Yes.
same
Oh,
time, there's a
loads of them as
couple
well.
of
You can get
like,
like a good 4 or 5
yes,
each time you go to one.
yes, it's so good. But there's a few ooblets that are I think
Yeah.
like limited to them, which
Yeah, I think so.
I think will make it very hard to figure out when their gleaming is because I don't think they appear on like the here's what's coming up today like list.
No, no, but I think it's only one exclusive ooblet for them. I've only ever seen one of them.
I've
And
seen 4.
you've seen 4. Okay, interesting. I
Hmm.
wonder why.
I think it was 4 at least. I think it was Kingwa, the Gumple, the Gribbon, and Doozy Dog. At least I think I could be wrong. The wiki
I
isn't great, which
there are
I really
so
want to
many
update.
ooblets. There are so many ooblets that I lose track. Like 50 of them, right? Like I'm not going to remember
This
every one of them and how you get them.
this is why I made a spreadsheet. Which I have
Fair
not
enough.
updated for this 1.0 release. But yeah, I was like, at least they were, I think, initially listed as Danceborn exclusives, but now they're appearing in these treasure islands, and there's no seeds in the dance
Mm.
form, so I'm assuming they're treasure island exclusives. Um, but yeah, I think it's going to be hard to farm the Gleamies because you have to go there and you have to have like whatever requirements they need to dance with. I have some
Yes.
frustration with that, but I suppose that's just to make it a little harder to farm those, I
Yeah,
guess.
I get the frustration, but I also, yeah, I think that like I think it's fine to have some like kind of harder to get ones. Like, I don't really have an
Yeah.
issue with that. Like, I get how it might be frustrating if there's a Gleamy, but I also think they're probably going to be really, really rare, right? Like,
Yeah.
actually finding a Gleamy in one
Probably.
of those.
Yeah, and I think
So
they do
yeah,
stick around for a few days. So like even if you went the
yes,
first day
yeah,
and
I have seen that.
yeah.
I don't know
Hmm.
whether if you have a Gleamy in one, I don't know if it would be there the next day or not. But yeah, I think in my experience, you've had access to that one until you find another map, and then it changes which one's available. But maybe
I
I've
think
just found
so.
so many of them that that's the case. I don't know.
Well, no, I think one of them. I think they do eventually disappear because I didn't have any map at one point on my or any X on my map. So I think there is a time limit, but I don't really know what that time limit is. If it's just 2 days, or if it's 3 days, or what.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
yeah, I think that's all I wanted to highlight. I think for the
yeah.
um
I think
for the
I think
areas.
I like all of the areas. They're all fun and unique.
Uh huh.
I think that there aren't too many of them. There's kind of it
Yeah.
just feels like the right amount, and it feels like
Mhm.
they had. It feels like they added the areas because they had ideas for the areas. It doesn't feel like they said this is the number of areas we're going to have, and then tried to think up ideas. It really does feel like they had all these unique ideas, and that's why they added them in.
Mhm. Do you have a favorite?
Pants a bear.
Oh, that's a good one. I think Nowhere is my favorite one just because of its Halloweeny-ness. um, but yeah, they're also good. I love them all for different reasons. Except for maybe Port Forward, but I think that I just have those mini games. I think frustrated me a little bit. um, but yeah, do we want to get into I guess some of the complaints you wanted to highlight?
Yeah. So I want to preface these with, and I did this in the last Ooblets episode, and I do this every time. I love this game. I love this game. I love this game. Right? Everything we're going to talk about is just stupid little things that would improve the
Yes.
game. Right?
Hmm.
And if none of these happen, the game isn't ruined. It's still fun. Right? Overall.
Yes.
But these are things that I would change, or I would suggest that they change, because I think it would make it better.
Hmm.
So my first one is, so one of the big parts of it is wishes, and like you go to the wishing well to use your wishes. It's like a currency, and you use them to get specific things, and you use them
Hmm.
to like unlock more ooblets. You use them to make your farm bigger, to make yourself run faster, make more stuff available in the shops. And you can also like use
Hmm.
one-off ones to like say, oh, you can use like, I think it's 100 wishes to get 50 gummies. So you can like
Yeah.
translate them and stuff like that. My
Hmm.
big issue with this is like you get loads of wishes throughout the game, but as soon as you're in post game, it's really, really hard to get wishes. So you can get 70 wishes a day from the dance barn, and you can get
Hmm.
35 wishes a day from some tasks. And that's
Hmm.
it. If you've got all the badges and you've done all of the tinsel tasks, there's no other way to get wishes that I can see. And so
Hmm.
I'm at the point where I have unlocked everything in the wishing well except the big farm, and the big farm takes 1,000
It's a
wishes,
lot. Yep.
which you can get 105 wishes per day. So it will take me 10 days to make
Hmm.
to do it, and that's assuming that I do everything perfectly. That's a long
Yeah.
time to unlock one thing when I'm in
Yeah.
post game. Like I don't understand why there's not a better way to get wishes in the post game, because
Or
it's
if you can
like
convert it
there,
like with money.
there was well there wasn't even maybe yeah sure I have like 20,000 gummies, like yeah I could use them for something. The
Uh-huh.
I feel like there wasn't even, and this isn't like a story spoiler, there wasn't even like a final once you finish the story, oh here's 1,000 wishes or whatever. Like it's just you don't get anything for the
Mm.
last one as far as I can tell. It's just, and we'll talk about the story bit later on, but like in terms of wishes I
Hmm.
don't think you get anything for completing that bit of the story, which just seems weird because most of the story bits you finish them and then you get like 200 wishes or something. You don't get
Yeah.
anything in the
True.
end of them, which just seems weird, and I just feel like there's something missing, and I want more wishes.
Hmm. Yeah. I can see that maybe just being a way to, because you can also buy supplies with wishes like obsidians, which are harder to get, and clothlets, which are like one of my main like
Yeah.
what's like bottlenecked resources.
Yeah.
So I can understand maybe why they wouldn't want to shower you with wishes towards the end, but at the same time, like you said, like it's the end game. Like at that, if you're
I
continuing to play after you beat the story, it's because you're collecting all the
exactly.
other ooblets.
Yeah, I think it's fine to like restrict them throughout the story, and that's fine. But like when you
Uh-huh.
get to the end game, like I don't really like. I'm not really working towards unlocking the bigger farm. Like that's not really fun.
Yeah.
Like I'm working towards getting all the ooblets. Right, that's the
Mhm.
point of the end game. Right, that's what I'm doing,
Mhm.
and everything else is just inconsequential to that. It's just what I'm doing to get to that point. And I would really like to have, I mean, realistically, I only want to unlock the bigger farm so that I have the bigger farm. Like, I'm probably not going to use it. It would be nice probably
Mhm.
to do what you do and like have a bunch of farmland that I can just leave and get more rocks so I can get more nurnies or something like that. But I mean,
Mhm.
it's not a big thing. It just feels like a bit weird. The
Yeah.
second thing I've worded on this on this sheet as lack of automation, which is a bit unfair because it's not that there's lack of automation, is that I feel like there's a missing point at the end. So there's a bunch of automation you can do. So you can get sprinklers, obviously. And the sprinklers are
Mhm.
pretty good. You've got your top level of sprinkler covers 24 squares. It's a 5x5, obviously
Yep.
minus the one that the sprinkler's on, which is really nice. It's a good. You could get like I've got I think 4x3, which covers most of my farm, and that's pretty good.
Mhm.
And you've got oob coops. So the oob coops are like little houses for your ooblets, and you can
Mhm.
upgrade them. And as you do, the ooblets do more work. So when you get to the top, they plant the seeds, they water the seeds, they weed the seeds, they harvest the seeds. They also keep them warm if it's cold when you're at the top level. So
Mhm.
they do all of that. But here's my issue with that. That is great, except there is no way to extend the range of the oob coop. The
Yep.
oob coop will
Yep.
only ever cover 8 squares. And
Yep.
that makes it to me useless. Because you then have 1 out of every 9 squares covered by something, and trying to get enough oob coops to cover enough land, that is dreadful. Like I would like a sixth level of oob coop that extends it to 24 squares, just the same as the sprinklers. I don't need it to be bigger
Mhm.
than that. I just need it to be that. And then it would be perfect. There would be just the right level of automation for me. And it's not like it would be, they can make that final upgrade really expensive. I am fine with that, right? Make it hard to get, make it so it's really
Mhm.
difficult to get, but let me have it because I am getting bored of farming in this game. In this game, because like once you get to the point that I'm at, you have so many crops that if you actually just keep reaping, uh, harvesting them and then sowing them again, you spend most of your time farming. And it's like the
Mhm.
whole point of these games is like building up your farm and building up your processes so that you spend less time doing the initial stuff. Like if there's
Mhm.
no end progression of automating as much of it as possible, for me, like maybe some people play the game differently, but for me, that just puts me off doing the farming at this point because I've got to the point where I can have 300 crops, but I have to do it all myself except the watering.
Mhm.
And that's not
Yeah.
fun.
I feel that, which is why I've leaned very hard into the coops. I didn't even unlock the basic sprinkler blueprint because,
Uh-huh.
or any of the blueprints because that was my goal, was just straight up automation.
Yeah.
And mind you, I think the highest level I've unlocked, or not unlocked but built, was a level 2, other than the level 4 that I won at the dance barn. So it definitely takes a lot of resources, and I don't have 300 crops on mine. I have like maybe
Yeah.
30 crops on mine
It,
because of that
wow.
that limiting factor. So
Wow. Yeah.
my money making scheme is primarily through dirigible as a freelance reporter, or freelance editor, I guess. Um,
I did two of them and then they got so complicated I just could not be bothered with them.
I love the puzzles. I
I I
love them so
I hate
much.
that puzzle. My brain does not work with those puzzles. Like the simple ones I can just about get, but once you get
Uh
more
huh.
than like 4x4, my brain goes, "No, I cannot figure this out. It doesn't make any
Uh
sense."
huh. I have
So
figured it out, and I cannot do it any other way. Like, I'm sure there's a faster way to do it, but I figured it out once, and that's the way I do it. So,
fair enough.
but yeah, because you can make, I think, 120, like, no, like maybe 200. I think it's 225 gummies a day just by doing the 3 puzzles.
Yeah,
So
see, that to me
it's
isn't very much.
significant.
Whereas I'm at the point now where I'm easily making 5,000 gummies a day just from the blue goo pies. Like,
Uh huh.
like why would I? I don't get out of bed for
Uh
less than a
huh.
thousand gummies.
I have not hacked the capitalism in this game yet. I did not figure out
Blue
which
goo
was the
pies.
best money.
It's all about the blue goo pies. I thought it would be or Spressies. Spressies is also a good one because that
Uh
is, I
huh.
think, like three spring beans and one fructose, which
Mm-hmm.
is really good. I thought it was going to be the hop hop dob dobs, um, because they were
But they're
really
so
good. You can do like
hard.
40 of them for 10,000, but yeah, they're so limiting because
Yeah, because the spicy
you
spears.
can barely get 3 spices a day. So you just it's
Yep.
so limiting. But
Yep.
the blue goo pies, you can make so many of them. If you grow 100 muzz and 100 Zanuka, you can easily make, I think it's 50 blue goo pies in 3 or 4
Beautiful.
days, and you can
Okay, I'm doing
sell
that.
10 of them for, I think, 2,500 gummies. It is so, like, I'm at the point now where I'm limited by the number of times that Plenty's will let me do them. So like, no, you don't get a blue goo pies in Plenty's every day, so I just have to keep checking every day to see if I can sell more. I currently have
Uh
60
huh.
blue goo pies in my inventory I can't do anything with
Mm-hmm.
because I'm waiting for them to come up in
Okay.
Plenty's. But that's fine. But also
Mm-hmm.
Spressies, if you do the Spressies as well. So I think the best way is to do blue goo pies and Spressies. The problem is the Spressies. So I don't know whether you've noticed this or not. As far as I can tell, so you start out with this is getting so niche, but I will just do this one point and then we'll move on to less niche stuff. So you have
Uh huh.
your like camping stove, which is your first cooking thing.
Uh huh.
And then you can get the kettle to do the coffee
Yep.
and the spressies, the bean juice and
Mm-hmm.
the spressies. You can get in the furniture shop, you can get an oven, which works faster than your camping stove. But as far as I
Really?
can tell, there is nothing that can improve on the kettle. And the problem is
Mm.
that the spressie takes about 10 seconds to cook,
Yeah.
whereas the blue
It's a
goo
long
pie
time.
on the blue goo pie in the oven takes about 2 seconds to cook. So you can
Beautiful.
ratchet through them so quickly. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
speaking of which, that comes up to another issue that I have. Why
Uh
is there
huh.
no bulk cooking? I don't understand why there's no. Why can't I just say I want to cook 20 of this? Take the time to do it. That's fine. I just don't want to have to keep press. Wait 10 seconds. Press. Wait 10 seconds. Press. Like, just let me go. I want to make
Mm-hmm.
20 of this, and it does it.
I
Do
I
it. Do it. Do it.
It would be really cool, I think, if you could bring ooblets and assign them inside your house to cook for you.
Yes. That's it. That's the way you do it. Yep.
Yes,
There you go. It's
that's what
within,
I want to
because
see.
that means they don't have to do the bulk cooking. That's fine, whatever. But you can still do the thing they love, which is making
Yep.
ooblets do no letting ooblets do things. Uh, I like it. Great. Yeah. Assign
Uh
an
huh.
ooblet and say, I want you to make this one as fast as you can, as fast as you have the stuff to make it. Perfect. Love it. Do it.
Yes. Yes. Yes, please. I want that. I need that. Although I'm not cooking as much as you are because I don't have 300 crops on my land.
Yeah, I look, I may be taking things to the extreme. I know, and that's why I have most of these issues. But let me go with it, right?
Hmm. Yes.
Next we have, so on the beginning of every day, as we've mentioned, you get like a here are the ooblets that you can find in different areas, and they show
Hmm.
you whether they're normal or they're uncommon or they're gleamy, which is great.
Hmm.
But here's
Yes.
my problem: you only see it
Yep.
once, never
Yep.
again.
And if you accidentally click through it,
Why?
then you're not gonna know
Yep.
what's happening.
And you're like, I bet today was a day there was a gleamy, and I don't know where it is.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
So
And
I
I
yeah,
just
I
drives me insane.
it does. Like there should be a place like put it in the news. Maybe put it in the news, like the dirigible, like balloon. Like here are where the ooblets are for today. You know, like
It doesn't.
I don't know.
It doesn't
I
even need
would
to be
love
that
see that.
complicated, right? Because like you could do,
No.
like they could instead of showing you it on that screen and then you have to go away. How about like put it in, give you like in the mail, like with Hankerbot, like just give you a little
Oh,
mail every morning. Because you already
but
do
you
that. You
can't look
already
at the
go and
mail
look at
again.
Hankerbot every day.
You can't look at
Well,
the
that's
mail
a
again, can
separate
you?
issue. No, but it does then show you the Hankerbot on your friends list. So maybe it would be nice if it would like. So it shows you
Mm.
your friends list and then it shows you the little thing coming out of the friend with what they want. Maybe they
Mm-hmm.
could do that on the list of ooblets because you've also got the list of ooblets in your almanac. Just show a tick next to them or like a Gleamy symbol or something. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
so many different ways you can do it.
Yeah. Or like put it on the map too. Like utilize the map more. Because I only use that once a day to check if Magnolia's in her lab. But like maybe there could be a second
Yeah,
screen for the map for a larger oob map that
yeah,
had where all the oobs
yeah.
are.
There are many ways you can do it. Many ways you can do it. Or just
Mm-hmm.
like literally just a button somewhere that lets you go onto the screen again. Like it just,
Yeah.
let me just want to go back to that screen.
Uh huh.
Um Equally small, stupid things. When you go in the bag and you like hover over something or you like move around on the gamepad, the pop up covers half of the bag, which in and of
Mm-hmm.
itself isn't the end of the world, except that if you open the bag, it initially hovers over something and then it covers half your bag. So then you have to move to an empty space to be able to see what's in your bag.
Yep. Yep. And you can't see
It's
the
just,
name of the thing in your tool belt either, which also bothers me because I don't know what seed this is, and I don't want to, plant it if I don't know what it
yeah,
is.
yeah, 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 yeah. And also, you can't eat things from the tool belt. You have to go into your
Yes.
inventory to eat them. Like these are, and
Yeah.
again, I would
Very
like to
small.
highlight because it may well sound like we're complaining about this game a lot. These are small things. If they don't get
Yes.
fixed,
Very,
the
very
game will still
small.
be fun. I will still play the
Yes.
game.
These are just small,
And the
very,
final
very small
thing,
quality of life improvements.
yes, the final thing is not so small and is a little bit. It just felt a little bit weird. The battle AI is really dumb. Like the number of times that I've been playing someone and they've done gain 5 points, gain 5 points, gain one hype, and you're like, why did you not do the one hype at the beginning?
Yep.
Like literally
Yeah.
makes no sense. And then they'll like
Yep.
play things that actually disadvantage them. Like I can't remember there was one like, but I think it was something like lose 3 points, clear all your fluster. But they had no fluster. So they just lost 3 points and
Mm-hmm.
they didn't get any advantage
Yep.
from it. But they played it because they could. And you're just like, why?
I
It's
think,
just real,
I
real,
think
real, real dumb.
I can see the appeal of that one specific word because it's literally like, was it herbal that does that? That just like has no good
Yeah.
signature moves, and I think that's just herbal's like quirk, like a lovable like quirk. Like you're just a really dumb bird. Like there is a dumb bird, which I think is not terrible, but Hermball is just an idiot.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. There's definitely been like I've noticed that multiple times, or like when they were like play a card, it says like the next card I play will like be extra points, but it was their last card, or whatever. Yeah, it could be better. I think it has improved. I think the AI has improved over time with early access, and there's definitely plenty of times I think in the dance forum where I don't win. Well, maybe less now. Maybe less now. Now that I'm more wise with my moves, I don't know. But there's definitely been a couple of battles that were a little difficult that I've lost. So I wouldn't say it's all 100% very easy to win either.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's not complete. There are a couple of ones that I've lost, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly not difficult.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
definitely not difficult. Which I don't hate. Like,
um,
maybe that could be like a difficulty level thing if you
yeah,
really
yeah.
wanted
No,
a
I'd be fine with that.
challenge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be
Or
fine with
like
that.
create a battle tower. Instead of a dance board, it's a battle tower where everyone's like OP and it's very hard. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So we now have story on the list. Now, I don't think we're going to talk
Mm-hmm.
much about the story, and I'm hoping we don't
I
talk
want
about too
to.
many spoilers. No, yeah, but we shouldn't because apart from anything, we've been going for like an hour and a half, nearly an hour and 45
Okay.
minutes. I need to go to bed, so we're not going
Okay.
to talk too
Very,
much
very good.
detail. But this is your warning. This is the last thing we're going to
Yes.
talk about.
Yes.
If you absolutely want no spoilers whatsoever, get out now. Go away. We're not going to talk about big story spoilers, but we might mention some things that would be considered spoilers depending on who you are. So leave now.
Now go.
So I only have really one thing I want to talk about, and that's that I feel like the ending was a little bit anticlimactic and lackluster. And I don't know what it is about it, and I don't know how I would improve it. But my thing is, so you basically generically you save everybody, right? And then what happens once you've saved everybody is it gives you another task, which is celebrate. And I'm like, what does that mean? What do I do? And it's just like everybody's around town just having a little party, but nothing really happens. And you're like, you go to bed and then you wake up in the morning and it's done. There's nothing like, I mean, sure, they celebrate you and they thank you for what you did, but like nothing really happens. You don't really get any reward. There's nothing. It just kind of just felt a little bit like, is that it? Is that really it? Have I missed? I feel like I've missed something, you know? And I don't think it needed to be something massive, but I feel like even like if they just like in the morning, you got up afterward, you got like a letter from the mayor saying, once again, thanks for saving us. And you got a bunch of wishes. That would felt like conclusion to me. It just didn't really, and I don't know. It's possible that there's something I've missed because, as I say, I haven't done the Wildlands up to level 10. So that is literally there's one task that I've not done. But I don't feel like if there is something locked behind that then concludes it and feels like that's it done, I feel like that's I don't think that's good because I feel like the conclusion should happen at the conclusion, which I've done the conclusion. Like that's done. We've done the story. The Wildlands thing is separate to that. And if they want you to have done the Wildlands thing before you get the conclusion, don't let me do the conclusion before I've done that task. And so it's not big. It's not a massive thing. I don't think it ruined the game for me. It just made me go a bit, you know?
Yeah, and I can see that. I wasn't sure what you meant by anticlimactic, but no, I definitely see that as well. And like I will say that's where I stopped. Like on the day that it said celebrate, I put the game down. I was like, okay, I'm done, and moved on to bed and breakfast because it was the day of bed and breakfast. Bear and breakfast, goodness, came out, and I was like, I'm really excited to play this. So I could definitely see that, and I did like finish the day and like start the next day, and you're right in that nothing happens. There's no reward, no statue of yourself, or anything like anything to mark your accomplishment in saving the town. So yeah, no, I could definitely see that. That definitely wasn't my impression, but maybe the fact that I put it down there and didn't come back until
that's
we
possible.
recorded this. Yeah.
It also might just be me. Maybe I was just expecting more, and that's a me problem. I mean, that's fair. I don't know. It's hard to explain it. It just felt a little bit meh.
Like the prize you get is saving the town, Al. Your capitalism brain wants you to have wishes. But the real prize is
I don't actually care about the wishes. I just want to be able to unlock the last thing. There's literally, the big farm is the only thing I haven't unlocked in the wishes because it's 1,000 wishes and it's going to take me forever to do it. I'm probably going to do it because I also want to get the Wildlands up to level 10. And I think I'm like 50 points away from getting to level 8. So then I've got 2 more levels. So that would be, was that 12 days, which is about, if in the best case scenario, which is, you know, if I do everything each day, then I should be able to get enough wishes to get the bigger farm as well. And obviously then I'll probably, I'm not feeling the itch to immediately go and like get all the Ooblets. You know, I'm 40% there. I will probably do it at some point, but like, I think after we're finished here, I'm gonna pause, put it down, and go play something else. Not just because I'm doing another episode in 2 weeks on another game that I've not played yet, but also just because it's like, you know, I think I'm okay with where this is concluded, and like I do want to have it finished, but I don't feel the need to do that right now.
And I will say this is a very good game that you can put it down and pick it up exactly where you left off and not feel like you have to relearn anything or anything like that. So I've done that over the course of the past 2 years and has been very fun to just like hop back into the swing of things very easily. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
will
think it's
probably do the
interesting because
same.
we've had kind of conversations before about whether early access is good or bad for games, and like in this circumstance, it was fun coming back to it because I hadn't played much of it. I think if I'd done what
Hmm.
you did and played most of the updates, I feel like I wouldn't have
Hmm.
had as much fun when the final version came out. Um, and like I don't know. I mean, it's always a difficult one. Like when I have these discussions all the time about when I'm going to cover an early access and whether I'm not, and like because it happens all the time. There are so many games that release in early access, and then it's
Hmm.
like, well, the game's probably not going to be finished or in 1.0 for another 2 years, which was the case
Hmm.
with Ooblets. It was 2 years, and so I'm like, do I want to cover it? Wait for 2 years before I cover it at all? Like when's the hype going to be, and when am I most going to enjoy it, and how much of the game? It's a difficult one. So like some games I do and some games I don't. And in this case, I
Hmm.
think it worked well because I got a good idea of what the game was 2 years ago. But because I didn't play any of the other updates, I came back 2 years later, and it wasn't like a new game, but it was like re-experiencing a game with a massive update. And there was
Yeah.
more stuff that I hadn't done than there was stuff that I had done. And I think that might be the
Hmm.
key for me.
Yeah, I can see that. And like I said, I sped through it because I have played a lot of the updates. So I definitely can see that. I will say I definitely still enjoyed it because of how good this game is.
There is that.
And
There is that.
yeah, and I think, and that there were enough new things I think that I still hadn't experienced because it was a while since my last time playing it. Like Panzer Bear was the last one, so there was the Treasure
Yeah.
Islands and the last area, um, and then the finale of the story I think was what like really thrilled me, which is
Yeah.
why I want to talk about it, but no spoilers. um, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fine. Fun. Good.
Mhm.
Happy.
Mhm.
And I
Happy.
think we've discussed this a lot. I think it was okay. This was a very good game. I very much enjoyed playing it. I would highly recommend if you enjoy a farming game, play it. If you enjoy a creature collection game, play it. If you enjoy
Yep.
games in general, play it. If you like deck building
Yep.
games, it depends what you like about it. If you like the actual
Yeah.
creation of a deck, probably not. It's
No.
not kind of enough of that. If you like the
Mhm.
other aspects of it and you're willing to try, go for it. It's a good game, a really good game. It's
Mhm.
really well made, other than a couple of bugs that they've kind of mostly patched out now, except on the Switch version, which will come soon. I think it's a really, really stable core game that works really well. They've done a really good job of always making it
Yep.
like that. And like the bugs that they've had have been really few and far between. I have
Mhm.
not encountered a single bug. And it
Yeah.
just, the core concept is fun. Everything is fun about it.
Mhm. I think I encountered one, and it was like very minor, that I could easily fix. Like I accidentally walked into the balloon, and then I couldn't get out of the balloon. But then I just traveled somewhere, so it was fine. um, that was, I think, the only bug I encountered, and like I've played this over the course of the past like 2 years, like here and there, every now and then. And I've
Yeah.
extremely enjoyed seeing how it's developed over time and the additions they've made. Like this
Hmm.
dev team was a team of two when it first started, and they have
Hmm.
six now. So they've accomplished so much in, I feel like, a relatively short amount of time, considering how long it takes
Hmm.
to make some of these games. So I, yeah, highly recommend it, and it's probably going to be one of my top ones that I will consider for end of year. Spoiler
Yeah, I mean,
for that.
I don't want to give too much away for what ends up happening in that episode, but yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised if this
Hmm.
ended up being my game of the year. I'm not saying it will.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
not saying
plenty
it
of games
won't,
coming out.
but
Plenty of
there
new
are
games
lots of
coming out.
games. It'll definitely be a difficult one to decide what it is.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I don't think I could say at this point that it won't be this game.
Hmm.
So
Same.
it's definitely up there. But considering there's also Doraemon Story Seasons 2, which the first one was our game of the year in
Hmm.
2021 or 2019. You know, that is, there's a lot of competition. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Not
very
a
good
long
game.
time to
Very
play
much
it,
enjoyed.
though, so we'll see. Because it's like mid-November that's coming out, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a month before we record after it comes out.
I
That's plenty of
suppose,
time
but
to
also
play
Pokemon.
it. Yeah. Okay, I'll have 2 weeks to play it. It comes out, I think, 2 weeks before Pokemon.
Uh-huh.
Look, I have it scheduled in the right place. We'll have at least a week. Look, I don't think you need a huge amount of time to decide on whether it's a contender or not. Like, it
True.
will either be a contender or it won't be, and I think it will be
Yeah.
very clear very quickly.
Yeah. I'll be playing it just
when
because
when
of last year's.
When is Pokemon coming out? 18th?
Sounds right.
Yeah, I think it's the 18th. So the episode, whoops, I'm just committing to that now, apparently. The Doraemon episode comes out 2 days before Pokemon does.
So we have 2 days.
I think
Okay.
it's the beginning of November that it comes out. So we'll have 2 weeks or so.
2 weeks, not 2 days. Okay.
2 weeks. Okay. No, it's 2 days between the episode coming out and Pokemon coming out.
Ah, I see.
The release, not the game coming out, the episode coming out.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, 2nd of November. 2nd of November is when Doraemon comes out. So that's more than 2 weeks before Pokemon.
I'm still waiting for my ability to pre-order it on Switch, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's weird. Anyway, let's not get into more discussions. Thank you, Bev, for talking to me about Ooblets. Listeners, if you would like to tell us your favorite Ooblet, you can find me on Twitter at the Scottbot, and you can find Bev on Twitter at BevGranger711.
Yep.
And if your favorite Ooblet is not Gloopy, or what is it, Gloopy Longlegs? Yeah. So let me try that again. And if your favorite Ooblet isn't Gloopy Longlegs, I would expect a long description as to why it's not.
Okay, so real quick, the devs tweeted and asked which one was your favorite, and that they're implying that they're going to make plushies. So I would highly recommend tweeting at them and also tweeting at us.
Oh.
But
I have a Gleamy I have a Gleamy Gloopy Longlegs, by the way.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I do not. I have the other two, but I have not seen a Gleamy yet. Very sad.
It has a rainbow head.
Amazing. It's so good. On my PC version, I had the costume for Gloopy Longlegs, and I love the costume so much. It's a Halloween event, I think. I don't. Highly recommend.
It's so good. So good. If you want to find all about the podcast and see all the up-to-date news, because obviously this podcast comes out fortnightly. We're not the most up-to-date news, but I tend to retweet all the news. You can find that at THSpod. If you want to email us, you can do that from our website, harvestseason.club. We read out almost every email that comes in. Good way to get your name on the podcast. On the website, you can also find a link to our Patreon, where you can get access to our very special extra episodes, commonly known as The Greenhouse. In our next episode next week, me and Bev will be talking about all the games in the Nintendo Direct, the September one, that we're excited about that are not farming games, so not the ones we talked about in this episode.
Yep. Yeah, definitely an interesting listen.
And it's more than Zelda, I promise.
Yes, it is.
I think that's everything. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Bev, for being here today.
Yep. Thank you. It's always a pleasure, and love talking about Ooblets.
And until next time, have a good harvest.
The Harvest Season is created by Rochelle Delaney and Al McKinley, with support from our pro farmer level patrons, Kevin and Stuart. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode. Thanks for listening.
I am also recording like 20 seconds after you.
Beautiful.
La 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 la. I get too distracted by things too easily. I think I have ADHD, by the way.
I also think I have ADHD. Yay!